I'm Nomvula, aka Sunshine, and we here in South Africa are tuned into SIBN Radio at www.415-96radio.com. If you would like to know more about the SIBN television and radio network, complete a contact form at the website www.415-96radio.com. Salet USA TV, reaching the world.
I want to ask you a question. Who's coaching you? Who's asking you the tough questions? Who's telling you, man, you're the common denominator to all of your issues and challenges? Who's telling you, man, all day long you become the magnetic pulse that attracts to you both good and bad? I want to be your life coach. I want to be the one that cheers you on to the finish line. I want to be the one that you ask the tough questions. And it doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but that means that you have a partner, someone who believes in you, not the you see right now, but the you can't imagine, the you that you are to become, the you are destined to be. I always say we both need the positive and the negative. It's not enough to have the knowledge of the matter, but we must have the wisdom as well. For wisdom settles it. And that's what I want to offer you as you join me on the Coach's Corner. I want to offer you the wisdom of the matter. Maybe it might be relationships, talking about our campaigns for more, for life, the dark room for our subconscious, our spiritual journey, whatever it is. I want to be there to encourage you, to build you, to challenge you, to cheer you on to the finish line. I'm qualified to do this. Why? Because I'm you. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the Coach's Corner on SIBN Radio. My name is Marcus Salet, and as I approach this microphone, I admit that I have my own personal and professional challenges here and there. But I'm getting better because I'm getting wiser, and that sometimes just comes with age. I hope that I can earn the right to speak into your life. And I hope that you will be participatory in this process and let us know whether or not this subject matter that we're going to discuss today hits home with you. I would like to hear your thoughts back in our email or inbox on our Facebook fan page. And I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to all of those that continue to listen on the various platforms where we air. First of all, www.415-96radio.com, and those that listen on the various platforms such as Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Blog Talk Radio, and beyond. Today, we're going to be talking about, does faith work by logical calculations? Does faith work by logical calculations? And we're particularly talking about the entrepreneur, so if you're working for yourself, you may want to tune in. And also, let me tell you the email. You can email us, marcussalet@gmail.com, or globalcoverage@salettusatv.info, SALETTE.info. Let's get to work. I am a little bit struck by the faith walk. I'm struck by the faith walk because it requires us to walk by a set of principles and not a set of circumstances. In that walking, we find ourselves sometimes toggled, if you will, more by the circumstances than by the principles. And hence, we have to remind ourselves that we are walking by faith. Now, this walking by faith is a Christian principle that I am adopting for the entrepreneurial pathway to move your company from one level to another, to move your life from one level to another, financially, in a profitability type of way. But I'm struck by how many times we find ourselves, for those of us who know about walking by faith, I probably should explain that. Walking by faith simply means, as I said earlier, you walk by a set of principles and not by circumstances, feelings, or the sense realm, if we could just put it in that light. And as an entrepreneur, you find yourself in this day and age you find yourself in a very peculiar position, because it seems like everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody's trying to work on a business. Everybody seemingly is struggling with some form of project or venture. And so when you have this many people who cannot find job security, whose job has reduced their hours, or they have hit a glass ceiling regarding their pay, when you find that you have millions of people trying to conduct business, and then, of course, if you add the cultural issues along with that, cultural issues among African Americans tend to be, if somebody else is making a leg up, they pull them right back down. Cultural areas in Hispanic communities tend to be more of a unified front. Cultural areas in the Asian community seems to be somehow they're getting tax breaks and visas to come into this country and to learn and to get a solid education to move forward. And of course, from what I hear now, I don't know if this is true, but there's a 7-year tax break that they get when they come to this country. Cultural issues with Anglo-Americans, if you will, is that they've been here long enough and they've always had more than enough. I'm just saying. That's just me, okay? And so when you factor in all the cultural issues and the games of life that people find themselves playing and the games that people play in life, there's a difference, then you really have to take a look at your faith walk. You have to take a look at the fact that whatever you're going to do, you're going to have to do it by principle. And when you do things by principle, things don't work quite the same way. When you work by the sense-around, when you work by how you feel, how the circumstances turn out for you, who you are connected with, and all these things, then you tend to not be as effective in the walking, but perhaps do a bit more just talking. And I found a lot of people do a lot of talking, but they're not always doing the walking. They talk the game to get into the circles, as it were, but then when you look up under the table, if you will, there's not a lot of work. Maybe they're copying someone else. Maybe they're doing a lot of pulling other people down to pull themselves up, and on and on and on. And so hence why I'm talking about, does the faith walk work by logical calculations? Now, let me explain what I mean by logical calculations. You only have so many dollars on the table to do what you have to do. You only have so many dollars in the bank to do what you have to do. You don't have so many credit cards to do what you have to do regarding your project, your venture, your business. And when you started, you had no idea it would grow to the level, the point where it is now. And so you find yourself, and the other thing about calculations is that just when you thought that, you didn't need to invest any more money, particularly, for instance, in equipment, now you got to fork up another couple of $1,000s. Just when you thought you didn't need any more supplies, now you got to go out and buy supplies. Just when you thought that you could, for instance, if you're a photographer, you want to make some money on the spot, you go out and buy you a printer that you can print photos right there on the spot, small enough, compact enough, high quality enough, and then only to find out that you're really investing in a printer that you won't use that much. I mean, just all kinds of calculations. And so my question is, does faith work by logical calculations? And of course the answer is no. The answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is there's only so many calculations you can make before faith has to take over. Let me say that again. There's only so many calculations. There's only so much budgeting that you can make before faith has to take over, or else you'll be in a state of worry, panic, and fear. And many of us as entrepreneurs find ourselves often, many of us who work a job find ourselves, because that could be even worse, because now you know how much you're going to make and you need to exceed that profitability margin, and you don't know how to do it. You may have the skills to do it. You may have the talent to do it. You may have a plan to do it, but you don't have the faith to do it, because you're stepping out only on the logical calculation that if I invest $10,000 here, then it would take me so many months to get X, Y, and Z back. But along the path of investing $10,000, you found out you had to invest an additional $15,000. And so the question again is, does faith work by logical calculations? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Faith. First of all, logic and faith don't get along. Because what makes sense to someone else will not make sense to the one who walks by principle, hence thus walk by faith. Now, I'm not talking necessarily to just Christians, because I'm talking in an entrepreneurial fashion. This is not a Christian show. This is a motivational show. But let me say this. We have faith, and we all have a measure therein, but our faith is in who, and our faith is in what? What is our faith in? If your faith is in your connections, you're going to be disappointed. If your faith is in your bank account, you're going to run low. If your faith is in your ability to scheme and fool your way through and pull other people down, that can only work but so much, because after a while, karma begins to kick in and kills the momentum of the plan, of the Slick Rick plan that you put in place, or the Slick Rick plan that other put in place on you, working on you. You know what I'm saying? And so at some point you're walking on water. At some point you're doing the invisible. You're handling the impossible. You're trying to create something that will bring forth from the spirit realm, if you will, into the natural realm that's intangible at this place and time. And so does faith work by logical calculations? Well, the answer is absolutely not. But we need to understand that sometimes that's all we're doing is logically trying to calculate our way through as an entrepreneur. And to a certain degree, it sounds like it would be right that you should calculate your way through, but then you run into a snag. And I always say, I have adapted this, that you can have growth or control, but you can't have both. You can't have both control of your company and growth of your company at the same time. And so sometimes growth looks chaotic. And there again, here comes fear, worry, doubt, unbelief, and some other things, haters, gators, whatever the case may be. And you're thrust back into a logical state of mind. And so when I come back from the break, I'm going to talk about the logical state of mind versus the faith-filled state of mind. Be right back. This is the Coach.
Follow us now on Twitter at SelectUSATV and on Facebook at SelectUSATV, and join the conversation anywhere SIBN television and radio is found. This is SIBN Radio.
The number one show on SIBN television and radio, the Coach's Corner's Daily Show. Now airing at www.415-96radio.com for hardcore motivation and daily inspiration. Tune in. That's www.415-96radio. That's www.415-96radio.com.
Ustedes están escuchando SIBN, transmitido por Salet USA TV. Síganos en Twitter @SaletUSATV o visítenos en www.41596radio.com.
You could wear my shoes or walk in my shadow. You would understand my everyday battles. You have no respect for my work or my grind. I wish you could see the passion inside. I thought I wouldn't do this. I thought I couldn't be here today. Thought my life would be ruined. Thought there would be no other way. I'm facing my fears. Now I'm shifting gears. The picture nice and clear. I'm doing what's best for me. Was afraid of being alone. Now I'm coming to my own. I loved you, but you did me wrong. Now I'm doing what's best for me. If I had a scale.
Well, you're listening to Cashmere in the background. I want to talk a little bit about logical calculations or logical states of mind. Thank you so much, Mr. DJ. It was late coming in on that when I went to break, but it's all good. But listen, logical state of mind does not help us because it sounds right, it looks right, it feels right until you have to stretch. A logical state of mind sounds right, looks right, feels right until you have to stretch beyond your borders, beyond your calculations, if you will, beyond your capacity, at least consciously speaking. And so logical states of mind may work well when it comes to some things, but when it comes to growth factors or when it comes to growth formulas, I'm not so sure that logic plays an important role. Faith, however, faith-filled state of mind means that I believe in a set of principles that are invisible to touch, but visible nonetheless. That which we can't see is more important and more vital than the things we can see. And this is the life that we get twisted, because our culture has wooed us and tricked us and bewitched us to think that our lives are all about how we feel and how we can't let someone take advantage of us, for instance. How we have to make sure we have the last word. How we can't let nobody put more on us on our job situation because our job description says we're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. So, don't be trying to get one over on me by asking me to do somebody else's job. Well, listen, you doing somebody else's job may be a step of faith because they may be getting ready to get fired and you'll be the one to take over their position and you may not get the pay for it right away. So then, according to logic, what do? Is this someone taking advantage of me, or is this a strategy to keep my job? You understand what I'm saying? Faith-filled thinking and then logical calculation thinking is two different types of thought. Two different types of thinking. Logically speaking, I shouldn't be here today. Logically speaking, I should not be on the air today. Logically speaking, my network should have already plummeted to the ground, because many of you listening to me right now do not interact, and that's the problem with online anything. I mean, if I was famous, then you would weigh in, because now you're riding the momentum of my fame. But because I'm obscure, it seems, and you're obscure, then you come by and you listen to me and then you go your way. And you don't feel that there's a need to connect with Coach Marcus Sillett because I don't owe him anything. And we are in a taking society. People want to take everything that they can to help themselves, but they don't want to give anything back. There again is a faith principle centered mindset. If you stop by the Coach's Corner Show, if you stop by SIBN Radio, spiritually speaking, you owe us something back. If it's nothing but a comment, if it's nothing but right on, brother, if it's nothing but a tweet or an email to let us know, listen, you're right on the right direction. But because so many people, over 50,000 listens in one particular broadcasting sector, and maybe less than 10 comments is really sad. And if I was walking by my logic, I would shut SIBN Radio down. I would shut it down. Over on Blog Talk Radio, we've only been over there probably under a year, but over there, almost 30,000 listens with one follower. I'm not ashamed to say it. If I have to be transparent, maybe that'll help me out. You know what I'm saying? And when we had our budget meeting, I said, let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. There's no response. There's no this. There's no that. Of course, there's the listenings. There's the listens. There's the downloads. But I've been here for a while, folks. I've been doing this for a while. It just didn't start last night. So my logic tells me shut the network down, shut SIBN Radio down, shut SIBN Television down, because people, it's so crowded now. When you go online, everybody's trying to do some radio. Everybody and their mama's trying to do something media now. And so logic tells me, hey, it's not gonna work. But I didn't put myself here. I didn't put myself on the microphone. I didn't put myself in this arena. And my faith-filled mindset tells me to push on, so there's a fight going on between my logical mind and my faith mind. And if I'm going to win the fight, I am not going to win the fight in a calculating way. This is not something I can calculate my way out of. In fact, I'm probably about $75K already in the hole. In the hole. I've spent about $75,000 cash, And I'm probably thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, headed toward tens of thousands of dollars anyway, in the hole. So, I mean, come on. I mean, just you can't tell me that the entrepreneur in today's society, today's culture, is not struggling with this faith versus logic situation. The mother who has 4 kids knows that she's got to get those 4 kids into some extracurricular activities, or they will drive her nuts. But she only makes but so much money. And she dares not to even go because of the gas cost to even drive around to see. She dares not even activate another phone to be able to keep up with her kids and to keep up with any activities because, she's budgeting. She's staying within the framework of her expense income. And so, you hear those self-righteous folks in some cases that say, are you living within your means? How in the world can you do that? How in the world? I believe we could live a simpler life. I do believe that. I do believe we could live within our means, but it's becoming more difficult since the middle class is slipping from the middle. And the lower class is given more benefits to stay at the low level. And the high class, the high 1-2%, has figured out legally ways to maneuver themselves tax-wise and otherwise to be able to stay on top. And so with the haves and the have-nots, you begin to wonder, is my faith even worth the trip? Well, I suggest to you, like for myself, I'm 75 plus K already in the hole. I've already spent the money. I've already purchased the equipment. I have multiple levels of subscriptions. I already have the network. I can't back out now. And that's the same way with you. You can't stop now. Well, what do you do when faith is screaming, let's go, and logic says, hold up? I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we can go any further. You have to believe. I was reminded by something that Tyler Perry said. He says, after you've passed out all the business cards, after you've networked, and hopefully, this is my input on that, hopefully the net will work. But after you've done all of these things, only thing left is grace. Only thing left after you've done what you're supposed to do is grace, favor, unmerited, if you will. I'm reminded of the story where Joseph, who was in prison in his teens, told the butler and the baker, remember me when they were in prison. Remember me when you get out. And he was not remembered. And so logically speaking, it seemed like he was doomed. And it seems like a lot of us as entrepreneurs are doomed right now. First of all, the field of media is becoming so crowded. Everybody and their mama's trying to do something now. Everybody and their mama's trying to get on the microphone. Everybody and their mama's got a camera. Everybody and their mama's doing graphics, websites, and on and on and on. Coverage of this and so-called coverage of that. And so what do? You wait. You believe. And you do not look down. I'm reminded of another parable, not a parable, a story of a young man who said, Jesus, if that's you, bid me come. If that's you. Is the question. That's where a lot of us find ourselves to be right now. If that's you telling me to start this baking business, if that's you, and sometimes I just wonder, what are our aspirations truly? What are our aspirations? Who are we trying to match with our results? We got to stop looking at other people's stuff. We got to stop looking at other people's results. We got to stop listening to other people telling us what we got to do, got to have. Places where we gotta go. You gotta go here because you gotta network with these. Well, so many times I've went to networking meetings. They don't work. The net doesn't work. People are in your business. You and other folk business. You sipping on a drink. You sipping on this. You're talking. You doing all this. And I'm not against building relationships. That's really what networking should be about. It's not about making contact and a sale. It's about building relationships. We'll talk about that on another show. But what I'm saying to you is that you spend your gas, your time, your money, your energy going to these networking meetings, and they may not be working because you're looking for a logical calculation for what really should be taking place as a faith walk. And in faith, there are certain, we'll talk about it on another show, but there are certain things that have to go with faith in order for faith to work. Just like with logic, there are certain things that have to go with logic for logic to work. For things to make sense, there's certain criteria is required. And too many times we want everything to make sense. And I'm just telling you, I was raised evangelical. I was raised, in a Republican family. All right. And so I can say to you that, hey, I wasn't born a liberal. I wasn't born in a liberal household. So I don't subscribe to everything that politically that the liberals do. But one of the things that I learned as a child, stay within the lines, stay within the budget, and, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. I learned all of that from my father. And I can tell you right now, there is a lot of things that I did not learn from my father. And one of them is walking by faith. Walking by faith. Now, if this was a Christian show, I could say, hey, our faith has to be in God. But this is not a Christian show per se. I'm just happen to be a Christian, but this is a motivational show. And so what I'm saying to you is that everybody has a measure of faith. And the question we must ask is, who do I believe in and what do I believe in? And whatever it is that you believe in and whoever that you believe in, you've got to stay by and stand by that and not subscribe to the temptations that logic woos you to subscribe to. The logic says, wait, this doesn't make sense. We can't do this. Faith says we can do this. We can handle this. I hear a lot of people talking about debt. Debt is bad. I agree. Debt is absolutely horrible. But a lot of us have debt because we believe by faith that we're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. And so are you to tell me that we're supposed to do a project debt-free with little support? With little participation in a field of crowded entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, singlepreneurs, churchpreneurs, on and on and on, teampreneurs. It's just crazy. And as I said earlier, and I don't have the time, but don't even get me started talking about the calculation. The issues that come to tempt us on the calculation side or on the faith side regarding the culture from which you come from. As African Americans, it is absolutely sad that we do not have a united front on anything but pleasure. Now we're united on that. We're united on pleasure, and according to the stats, we're united on how to tap into the resources of getting a great education. But we're united on entertainment and pleasure more than anything else, in my opinion. When you look at the whites, they're united when it comes to continuing the legacy of wealth. When you look at Hispanics, they're united in coming to a free country and ensuring that they take advantage of all these varying services and varying opportunities, whether they're legal, their status is legal or not. When you look at the Asians, so every culture has its set of issues that also should be factored into this argument. Does faith work by logic? Does faith work by logical calculations? Does faith work by logical conditioning? And it's a great argument to have, because at the end of the day, faith has to win. If faith does not win, we're in a lot of trouble. And so my question to you today is, at what point do you tell your faith no? At what point do you tell your faith, you know what, I can't believe anymore? At what point do you tell your logical calculations or your logical calculating mind, I can't calculate this anymore. I can't keep up. If I have 2 cents left over from that, I'll have $3 left over from that, I'll have $10, I'll have $13, then I could. No, you have to go as if it is so. Let me say that again. You have to go as if it is so if you believe. And the disciple said to Jesus, Jesus, if that's you, bid me to come. Now, the man was on the boat, and the man that he thought was Jesus was on the water. Now, I'm just a little worried about this situation right here, because I'm like, okay, Peter, what are you saying here? He gets out of the boat. He starts walking on the water. Read the story for yourself. And he realizes the intangible becomes now tangible. The impossible becomes now possible, because he believes that man he's walking toward is Jesus. And then he looks down and logic kicks in and says, man, scientifically speaking, this should not be. And he begins to sink. Then he cries out for help, righteously so, or rightly so. And he is saved. Well, maybe we'll talk about it more. This is Coach. Follow me if you can on Twitter.